Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I sound very nasally today. How you doing? We got a lot of glare on my big old forehead, and let's see if we could adjust that. I'm always tinkering with this. Oh, that's awful. I'm always tinkering with these. Like that's better. That's a little better. All right, how's everybody doing? Man, I didn't go to bed late last night, but I slept so good. It's been so hot and muggy and humid, and last night it was like a good temperature, and I just slept, and my alarm went off, and I'm like, what? Normally on Sundays I've been waking up at 6 because of work, but today I woke up to my alarm at quarter to 9, and I'm like, what is going on? I just wanted to continue sleeping. Good day planned. I'm gonna do this video. After this video, I'll putz around a bit, and then my wife and I are gonna go see the Superman movie. This is a little askew. It's driving me nuts. I took it down to wipe the lens because sometimes I get fingerprints on it. I'm gonna go see the new Superman movie, and then we'll probably go to the ramen place next door to the next door to the movie theater. I just love that place. It's pretty good. What's it called? Meat Noodle. Meat Noodle. you know, and it's all covered in anime characters that I have no idea who they are. So I always filibuster a bit before talking about the comic. So as normal, we got Heroic Tales #2, 6 days left on the campaign. So you know, back that the campaign tells me how many to print, and then I'll keep it in demand until I run out of extra copies. So if you're waiting for fulfillment, you might wait too long. Was all I got to say. So get on it now while the getting's good. It's $10. I see other people are charging $25 plus shipping for a 48 page comic. I'm charging $10 for a 40 page. So I guess 8 pages is worth 15 more dollars, right? What do I know? I'm a bad businessman. Good morning, John. I'm listening to you along with a Sunday morning drive. Good. You at work? I know. Where are you? In Montana, driving all over Montana, building houses. I know you have a super long commute all over the whole state. Yes, I am having a blessed Sunday. It looks like it's going to be a good day. I lately my policy is to not go see a comic book movie or any movie or TV show right away because I'm just tired of the bait and switch. I go to see the movie, I'm enjoying myself, everything looks good, and all of a sudden the message is preached to me, and I just get furious for the rest of the movie. And I'm like, I just spent and let's face it, movies ain't cheap, so I'm like, I just wasted all this money. So I just wait. I adopted a wait and see policy for everything. I never go opening night anymore because I just don't want to be preached to. So everybody says the movie's not preachy. Now, people like it, people hate it. That's normal. Every movie, some people like, some people hate. So, but I haven't heard anybody tell me it's woke, it's preachy and stuff. So that's So now I can go see the movie and decide whether or not I like it. This I gotta get a new light. This is just awful. We got Marcus Kellegrew. How you doing, Marcus? How's everything? We got Ben Samar, voice actor. Good morning, John. Hope you're having a most excellent morning. So far, so good. So far, so good. Haven't heard much about Crypto. Yeah, that's funny. Crypto stole it in the original trailer, and then nobody was talking about him. Americans do love their dogs. Everybody else is just saying hello. So we got 19 people. That's pretty good. Is this? I gotta crazy glue this. This is the camera that I dropped. Okay, that looks better. It was just askew and it was driving me nuts. All right. Oh, we got another comment. 58 Underground. Good morning, John. Hope you enjoy Superman. I thought it was great. Yeah, like I said, it seems to be it seems to be these days in the internet, everything is the worst or everything is the greatest. There is no like subtleties or in the middle or so it just seems to be like the two extremes. There you go. Here's Superman, and it's like this. So I don't know. I don't know. My criteria is I just didn't want it to be preachy, and it seems like everybody agrees that it's not preachy. So I'll go see it. I don't like cursing in my Superman movies or Star Trek shows, so maybe I'll catch it. Oh, they curse? Like, is it bad? I mean, if Lex Luthor curses, that's one thing, but if Superman curses, that's pretty bad. I love dogs, but where's Streaky the super cat? Well, probably in the Supergirl movie, right? Yeah, the girl who plays Supergirl looks perfect, but I hear she's like the character's drinking and like being Paris Hilton or something like that. All right, so let's get to X-Men. Is this askew? Yes, it is askew. Like I said, my basement, there's a slope that it starts up there. It's really short, and it just gets farther and farther. The distance to the ceiling. So there's a slope down here, and also it's kind of askew. And it was such a drastic difference that to self-level it would have been like a lot of that fluid, you know what I mean? So I just didn't do it, and now I regret that I didn't self-level the basement. So everything's always just slightly off, and it kind of drives me crazy. I would literally have to tear everything down, tear up the floor, move all the shelves, everything like that, and then re-level it. And, that's like one of those if I win the lottery type things. But anyway, all right, drug Supergirl sounds terrifying. I don't think Superman's surf cursed, but everything around him is a potty mouth. Ooh, that I don't know. Well, I'll see. I mean, we already got the tickets. I'm going. Hi, all. Hope all are well. I'm pretty good, Scott. Are you new? I don't recognize the name. Thank you for coming. All right, I usually filibuster until we get about 20 people or so. So here we go. X-Men 98. So those of you who are new, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have my coffee and talk about a comic. This is exactly what I started this channel to do. I try to keep this particular stream as drama-free as possible. I just want to talk about comics. This is like my channel in its purest form right here. And I do a lot of open invites and have people on, but this is just me, the comic, and the chat. This is it. So I started with Giant Size X-Men, then I went to X-Men 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. And so that's Giant Size 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. So we are at 6 issues of X-Men. And that's a year, because remember, this is bi-monthly at this point. That's about a year, roughly a year. And no, like, mutants, everybody hates us. It's been superhero adventure stories, and this is what built up the X-Men, if you ask me. So now we got this cover over here. Does it have the title, the credits? But this is Marcus. Do you know who does this cover? I'm saying Dave Cockrum, but who is it? Rich Buckler again from last issue? But this is Dave Cockrum, because I think I recognize the faces. To me, that's how you tell the artist. Mostly they have like a signature. They have a signature face style. Henry Jarmock says we can't see the entire top of the. I know this camera is just not the widest. It is a Cockrum cover. Yeah, I thought so. That's Cockrum. This is pure Cockrum, drawn and inked by Cockrum. Cool. But and you could see, like, as I'm looking at this, at a casual glance, you could see the John Byrne later to come. You could see that Neil Adams past to come. I don't know if Dave Cockrum is like I'm sure Marcus knows more than me. I don't know if Dave Cockrum is like a student or an admirer of Neil Adams, but you could see that. So like it is pretty amazing the consistency of the X-Men art since, like, I'm just going to throw a number out, since like issue 60. The Dave Cockrum, the Neil Cockrum era. There is now. I don't know if that's a Marvel house style. Is it an editorial decree, or is it just like the artists are just, we got to keep like a visual, a similarity to keep a common thread through. But this is like the way the X-Men look to me. Just so good. It's just so good. Book is centered out. You're welcome, Henry Jim. And that scary avatar. That avatar always gives me the creeps. Okay, what year is this book? Let's check it out together. What year is this book? So we got the first page. We got the fun fact. Oh, this is Johnson Smith Company Ed, and 1978. Oh, is it 78? Jeez, now I can't see. It's so small. $1976. Old man trick that I do that at work. Take out my phone. Sometimes on electrical equipment there'll be like a serial number or the amperage rating and stuff like that, and it's written so small I got to take out my phone and make it big. So 1976. It's just that the light is pretty dim. No, I can turn up the light now that nobody's really looking at my face. We're looking at the comic. Is that better? Is that worse? Let me know. I mean, I'm blanching out like a ghost. All right, so it's Christmas time. So we got Chris Claremont writer, and I forgot that from this point on, I'm going to do the page comments, comic comments. So we got Chris Claremont, the writer, Dave Cockrum, the artist, Sam Granger, the inker, Joe Rosen and Janice Cohen as the letterer. Joe Rosen as the letterer, Janice Cohen as the colorist, Marv Wolfman as the editor. I remember as a kid, I always thought Marv Wolfman was like the funniest name. Like that can't possibly be his real name. Is Wolfman his actual, last name? Was he born with the name Wolfman? So we got X-Men hanging out at Rockefeller Center. This is a real place in real Manhattan. Midtown's a fairy kingdom this year, a magic land of light, colors, and carol begins in the St. Pat's and spreading out among the Fifth Avenue crowds. So right over here, these guys, the X-Men right here, I love this because I've been in this exact spot before. We got the Christmas tree, the statue of Prometheus. There's the ice skating rink. This is where the big tree goes. And over here, there's like a big platform, and usually around Christmas time, people throw pennies. They put up like these glass barriers and they throw pennies. It's like a good luck, and all that money goes to charity. And believe it or not, it's just like a penny. So everybody just like whips them and plays little games and chucks them, tries to skip them, and at the end of the season, it's like a couple of $1 million. That's how big it is and how deep it gets with pennies. So here we got the X-Men over here. And what do we got? We got Wolverine over here. I think this is the first time we see Wolverine without his mask. For those of you who've watched all these videos from the beginning, is this the first time we see Wolverine without his mask? We got Banshee, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Colossus, and then what do we got? I always say this. We got Nick Fury over here. We got the Contessa over here. But we got whenever we see like close-ups, really well-drawn close-ups of just random crowd people, it's usually like the artists, the creators, the people behind the scenes, in the comic. So I don't know exactly who's who, but this is like, that's Nightcrawler and his Errol Flynn image inducer. See, this just shows you like the whole like. Except the Who I Am hasn't started yet. This is Nightcrawler hiding who he is. So this is Nightcrawler using the image inducer to look like Errol Flynn. Scott Storm, can you believe a white Christmas? For the first time in years, New York's got itself an honest-to-goodness white Christmas. How racist. Black people can't have a Christmas. So let's check out the comments. Oh, geez, a lot of comments. So Scotty Chris Jones says, what year is this book? The year I was born. Marcus is confirming that, yes, Dave Cockrum did ink the cover. Hey, Genuine Comics. Green Shot, how's everybody? Today, everybody's good. I'm good, at least. How's everybody in the chat doing? Dave, this is Dave Brink. Dave Brink runs Genuine Comics. I implore you to check out his comics. They are so good. So good. Perfect 10. right now is his flagship comic. It's so good. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Marcus, your work last night was great as usual. Well done, sir. Logic, finest. What is cool is the cameos. Matt Murdock, Dr. Doom skating, Dave Cockrum and his wife just in front of, yep, Nick Fury and Val. Pretty cool. Oh, yes, there's Dr. Doom. Who else is in there? Matt. Oh, yeah, there's Matt Murdock. That's Dave Cockrum and his wife. That's funny. He didn't put Chris Claremont in there, so he drew himself. Yeah, there's the contestant. There's Matt Murdock. I wonder if these are anybody else. You know, this might be Chris Claremont before the beard. I don't know, but usually they do that whenever they have close-ups of people's faces. A little that John MacArthur passed away recently. I didn't know him personally, but I like some of his sermons and his books. Yeah, I never had I never heard of the man until he passed, and then a lot of people I respect and listen to started talking about him. So I'm kind of curious who he is. I didn't know him. Wolverine has a face. Yes, this is the first time they show his unmasked face. Kilted Corgi, how you doing? How you doing, Kilted Corgi? First time I've seen you. Good. Welcome. Thank you, Logic's Finest. And Matt Bear, how you doing, Matt? X-Men 98. Yep, X-Men 98 is in the house. Skadoodle. It's pathetic when old people use what they think is young people's language. So, look at this page over here. We got, I can't help but remember that slips. So, as far as I know, Storm's not using her powers to make the White Christmas. There's me. There's a cameo of me in there. The X-Men are just talking and enjoying themselves. Anyway, Kurt and Peter seem to be enjoying themselves. Miss Summers, your gift for understatement boggles the mind. Amanda, I think we're being followed. Betsy, dear, do you hear me screaming for a cop? So we got, oh, wow. Is this, what is Nightcrawler's girlfriend's name? Amanda Stefton, right? Is this her first appearance of Amanda Stefton? And Betsy, right? These are the two girls that get captured by Arcade later on, right? Right? So here's Peter and Kurt flirting with the chicks. Here's Wolverine. Look at this. Look at that, like Widow's Peak. What about you, Wolverine? What about me, Miss Gray? I ain't got no use for Christmas. Oh, well, have a nice time anyway. So they go and sightseeing. Strange man, Wolverine. We've been together almost a year, and I still not sure he'll work out. But then I was sure about Alex and Lorna, and they tried to kill us. So stop it. It's Christmas, and you're tearing yourself up. So remember, Jean Grey left, but now she's hanging out with the X-Men. So you big lug, kiss me. And who do we got over here? We got Jack and Stan. Stan, you know who they are? I bet they never used to do that when we had the book. Jack, you know these kids, they got no respect. Jeez, if that offends Jack and Stan, I wonder how they would feel about X-Men comics today. I would tell you, you were beautiful. Here's Jean Grey. And it's hard looking at this to remember, they're only like 21, 22. That's their age, They're only supposed to be in their young 20s. And they're enjoying themselves, they're having fun. And what happens? The Sentinels. It can't be them. Prepare to meet your doom. Mutant 4, the Sentinels have arrived. So this is the first time that the X-Men are targeted because, well, it's not entirely true. I was going to say it was the first time they're targeted because they're mutants, but they were targeted because there were mutants in Krakoa. But Krakoa was feeding off of mutant energy. And Krakoa was just like a Lovecraftian monster. I know they say it's a mutant, but a mutant in the general sense of the term that we use in the comics and accepted is a being born of a mother, So, but Krakoa was a mutated radiation beast from rocks, trees, insects, bugs. You know what I mean? There was no human mother that gave birth to Krakoa, so it's a mutated whatever that fed our mutants. So here it is. Now the Sentinels. Sentinels, great design. I always thought they were this like semi-human face, but like blank expression. It's kind of scary when things are close to human, like that uncanny valley. So I will check the comments over here. Marcus, great job. Marcus is putting up Genuine Comics link. Someone's messaging me. Why are Sentinels giant size? That's something I never really understood. Impressive, just big, scary. I kind of like the symbology of the Sentinels. They're created by the government, so they're this giant, overwhelming, presence. But later on, they literally started making Sentinels of all sizes. And I remember there was a speech that the Beast gave. He goes, the Sentinels, they're getting more and more advanced. He goes, and they're going to make them bigger and bigger and more powerful. And he goes, and then it'll get even worse. They'll make them smaller. And I always thought of that. Ever since I think was it Grant Morrison when he did that JLA, when the atom shrunk down and went into Darkseid's body and materialized in his artery. I always thought, the small superheroes that retain like their superhuman strength are really powerful. We don't give them enough credit. We got KO Joe reading from North Carolina. We got RJ Williams. How you doing? RJ Williams, call sign Orion. How's it going? Happy Purple Face. Yes, it's Amanda is Betty's it's maybe Adam is in my artery right now, giving me a stroke. Yes, it's Amanda and Betsy's first appearance. Somehow the Sentinels have returned. I always like Kitty Pryde's little dragon Lockheed. Cool little sidekick. He burned and ate some Sidrian hunters in one issue. Yes, Lockheed doesn't show up yet. Lockheed, he shows up when they go to space. I'm trying to remember which issue that was, but I always liked Lockheed too. I liked, now that you're going to get me off on a little tangent right here, so I'll take a sip of coffee. But that's kind of what that logic. I'm sorry, I can't get my thoughts together today. Logic is this is the perfect example of one of the things that I loved about the world building that Chris Claremont put in the X-Men. Now, I don't know if Chris Claremont was into aviation or if that was just something that he extrapolated and put on Scott Summers because of his origin. His parents were shipping from Alaska to whatever, and their plane burnt down. They were in the pilot ship, so as a good writer, he did a little research. I don't know where the origin, but Lockheed Martin makes the airplane. So he put all of that, that little airplane lore and just because of one of his character's origins, and it just made the world that much realer. Sikorsky, the little bug guy, that's like a helicopter. Just I love all that stuff. It makes me think that maybe Chris Claremont was into like aviation. We got Heroic Tales 2 comic book. Campaign ends in 6 days. Was that next Saturday? Next Saturday. So the campaign tells me how many issues to print. And then it's in demand for as long, of course I print extra. Some are going to get lost in the mail. Some are going to get damaged. Some people inevitably go, oh, I missed the campaign. Can I get some? So, it's just smart to print extra. Now, I don't print thousands. I print maybe 25% more than I need. So if you want to get Heroic Tales, get it now in the next 6 days to ensure that you have a copy. We got Bats over here. How you doing, Bat? Oh, that's a cute little bat. Hulk Mutant, giant size Sentinel. Was Nimrod the first Super Sentinel or the ultimate Super Sentinel? I don't know if he was the first. Like Sentinels were like generic cookie cutter, just stamped out. There was the Master Mold that was like, it was almost like a big head and they just came out of its mouth. Sentinel. But I don't remember when they started making specialty Sentinels. Like at one point they started making Sentinels that could shape change and just appear human. After the Terminator 2, the Liquid Sentinel and everything like that. We got RJ Williams, call sign Orion. Nimrod is an excellent name for a Sentinel, leader and a hunter that associates with One World Order. Yeah. Nimrod. I remember giggling at the name Nimrod. That was like an insult. You Nimrod. And then you find out that he was a Old Testament king and hunter. Oh, okay. And I think he was the equivalent of Orion in Greek mythology. I think that Master Mold might be considered the first. Yeah, I might be. I'm not 100% on that. Thanks for the share. Oh, I was just about to go back. Nimrod was from the future. I remember. Yeah, he was way up. Yes, he was. Yeah, I think he time traveled from the future. So X-Men, more than any other comic, is so loosey goosey with time travel, and you know, the second generation of Trash Sentinel started being adaptive back in X-Men 57 when they introduced Havoc. They could adapt to mutant abilities, making them more dangerous. Yes, the Sentinels paralleled the mutants in the fact that they were evolving and changing all the time. They were of machines that were, the Master Mold itself was using like artificial intelligence to adapt to certain circumstances. Kind of brilliant and scary. Dave Cockrum's father was lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. There you go. That's probably where all the aviation and everything came from. I didn't know that. That's good to know. Happy Sunday, doing laundry. I did all my laundry yesterday. Still a habit from college. Here's a little bit of disgusting. I don't do any laundry until I have nothing left, and then I do it all in one shot. I know I should do smaller loads during the week, but like yesterday, I just did all the laundry. I love it. I love it. Now I got, my dresser is empty. It's gonna be full now. X-Men 1992. They always have the Sentinels as canon. Yes, that's the problem. The Stormtrooper effect, the red shirt effect. That the ninja. The comic book rule. When Daredevil fights one ninja, that fight goes up and down Manhattan. They're smashing buildings. Daredevil is bleeding. He barely survives. It's dramatic. Oh my God. It takes every ounce of creativity for Daredevil to overcome that one ninja. But when Daredevil fights 100 ninjas, all he has to do is like wave his hands and they're all collapsing and landed on the swords. The Sentinels are becoming that, or have become that. One Sentinel was scary, and now all of a sudden 12 Sentinels showed up, and then Cyclops could just blast 7 of them. I don't know if anybody reads the Dresden Files, but the very first time Harry Dresden fought a ghoul, I was reading it going, come on, end this fight already. End this fight. He fought and fought. Now he's like dispatching ghouls like they were red shirts. It's the red shirt effect. It just, they all bad ass threats sooner or later become Keystone Cops. Like if you watch Doctor Who, Daleks were unbeatable fighting tank monsters, and now they just like you tap them and they explode. It's just the way it works. Diminishing returns. All right. Bats is saying hello. I don't believe Orion was ever a king in mythology like Nimrod, although Orion is some version of the son of Poseidon and a princess from Crete, so it's possible he's a demigod. I heard, and I'm sure maybe Logic Finest, I think he knows mythology better than me, but I heard, and I can't confirm, maybe I am getting mixed up, but I heard that like Nimrod was the constellation Orion in the Hebrew lore, and then Orion was the Greek character. You know what I mean? So the same constellation, but they were both hunters. But I can't for the life of me remember where I heard that. So if anybody could confirm. In Avengers 101, they sent the Sentinels after the main cause of human mutation, the sun. Eventually, the sole surviving Sentinel returned, and he was elted somewhere, but found out he himself had mutated. Yeah, elted. He was melted somewhat. Yeah. The only time when more ninjas was helpful when the Foot Clan isolated one of the turtles to beat him up. Yeah, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Daredevil is only challenged by ninjas with names. Anonymous henchmen drop like pinballs. Yeah. If you're fighting Freddy the Ninja, watch out. If you're fighting, Maurice, I am the ninja. Some people call me Maurice. You better back the F up, Matt. You better back the F up, Matt. So here we go. We got Isokinetics. Oh, wow. Isokinetics. I'm going to make a comic book called ISOC. ISOC. ISOK. Because he uses isokinetics to get powers. Be prepared for my new campaign, ISOC #1. Okay. Amazing t-shirt offer. I still giggle when I see I'm with stupid shirts. It just makes me laugh. Just makes me laugh. Oh, look at this page. Just check out this page. Now we got some action. So we are on page 6. I don't know if you can see that 6 down here. So we had 5 pages of setup, some character development, some goofy stuff, some silly stuff, some like stuff that makes comic books kind of fun, stuff that like rewards longtime readers, like you didn't know that was Matt Murdock or Nick Fury in the Contessa unless you were like a Marvel fan of more than one comic, things like that, fun stuff that makes you feel like, yeah, I'm in the club. And now we got action goodness. So we got Scott now is this, we got Dave Brink, we got RJ, we got a bunch of people who are hardcore comic fans in here. Is this a mistake? We got Scott Summers blasting through his glasses. Oh, I stand corrected. The lenses flip up. The lenses flip up. They thought of that. Okay, I was eager to catch mistakes, and I done played myself. I'm going to talk like a teenager from now on. Word all. Shadizzle. So I love this. I love this. I talk about this every time I see it. I used to call that the John Byrne effect. When they kind of color like this and then use the details as like the opposite color. I'm not a color theory guy, but I think I described it well. And I used to call that the John Byrne effect until I discovered Neal Adams. When I was a kid back in 1976, I started collecting comics around 1974. So my first X-Men comic was 112 or 114, the one where the everybody thinks the X-Men are dead in the Savage Land. It's got Beast and Jean Grey pushing Xavier in the wheelchair. I forget the exact number, but so it was John Byrne. So John Byrne was using this. So that was the John Byrne effect. I didn't know who Neal Adams was until a couple of years later. I was a kid, and getting back issues was a thing that I didn't know you could do at the time. So once I started getting back issues and hearing about the history of comics, I realized it was the Neal Adams effect. But here's Dave Cockrum doing the John Byrne effect, which is really the Neal Adams effect. And little subtle, like dark. We see some Dark Phoenix over here. I swear, the Phoenix Force was the worst thing in comics. Hands down, the worst idea in comics. Maybe there's another idea that I'm just not thinking of, but right now, the Phoenix, like, look at this. This is her foreshadowing Dark Phoenix right here. When who knows if even that was a concept yet? If I have a time machine, I ain't going back and killing Hitler. If I have a time machine, I'm stopping John Byrne from coming up with the Phoenix effect. That's I got my priorities straight. So we got she's blasted Sentinels. Look at this. Look at this. Boom. Look at that. Just destroying. Got him. In other words, scratch one Sentinel. So I don't know if. Oh yes, teamwork here. So Jean Grey is knocking the Sentinel back, and then it's stumbling back and blasts him. Now, why am I liking this so much? Because I can't help but think of my role-playing game. It's I never tell my players what to do, how to fight, how to use tactics. My friend Jimmy, if you're watching, shout out. He and my friend Paul, Paul, if you're watching, how you doing? Paul and Jimmy use teamwork pretty good, and Mike. They're my 3 hardcore players that have been playing for a while. I got a new group of guys that are learning the rules and learn, but they're experienced gamers too. So I don't give them hints or anything like that. But in the role-playing game, a superhero gets hit with something, I rolled with that blast. So there's rules for rolling with the damage, so you take less hit point. But if you get them to stumble, they're not in control of themselves. They've lost their stance. And if they lose their stance, they can't roll. So this, like in my role-playing game, you get someone to like shove one of the bad guys, so it loses its stance, and then the second guy hits him with the wallop. You can't roll with it. You get a better chance of knocking them out when you do stuff like that. So this is a perfect example of teamwork. Jean Grey hits the Sentinel, he loses his footing, his stance, his kata, whatever you want to call it, and boom, got him. I love that. I love that. And one of the things that I do when I'm playing, especially with newbies, is I'll have a Xavier character. So Xavier, like if I was to, let's just pretend that the X-Men was my role-playing game, Xavier would be my voice. You know what I mean? The mentor that knows her. So I'd be like, no, use teamwork. You know, team up to do this and team up to do that, and show them how to manipulate the rule. Because in the V&V, the Villains Vigilantes role-playing system, if you could figure out how to use the fighting rules to your best advantage, that's a superpower in itself. And one of the ways I did that was we played the game as vigilantes, meaning no powers whatsoever. So everybody was like a Punisher type guy. They didn't have laser beams, and so they had to get creative with the fight tactics, and that carried over into the superhero tactics. It was a lot of fun. Again, you watch my channel for more than 3 weeks, you know that sooner or later I'm talking about role-playing games. So now we got the Sentinel over here. He's got the King Kong. He's got Jean Grey. He's blasting Scott. And I love this. He just holds up his hands and sprays her and takes off with Jean Grey. You know, Phoenix. And we got Scott over here. He's just running away from the jet wash. Is that what it's called? The jet wash from the Sentinel's foot. He's climbing up. What do I do? You know, he's fighting on the roof. He jumps because the jet wash, and he's like, oh, and he grabs something. Like this was just blind panic because of survival and love. You know what I mean? This was just pure emotion over here. This again, to talk about role playing games. I would make a cool role right here. He's taking off with you know, the woman you want to marry, the love of your life. Make a cool role, and Scott, he either just made the cool roll or just failed. Like if let's just say you're I'm not going to get too in the weeds about the rules, but if your cool stat comes out to be 17 and you roll a 19, you failed by 2. That means you're going to have a -2 penalty on your next roll. So he failed by 2, and then he had to make a dexterity save. You know what I mean? And then, you know, it all, that's how we play. Okay, you got to make a cool. You fail by 2. You know, so we got to do a lot of quick math when we'll play in the game, and I try to keep it as easy as possible. A lot of this is my house rules. So when I do the house rules, and if I ever do come around to Heroic Tales role playing game, it's going to be quick, simple rules. Once you got to stop and pause and do something and look something up, look at a chart, I think it takes you out of the game. Quick rules that you could just memorize and do in your head. So it held. How long? How long is it going to hold? You know, drama. Oh wow, lot of comments. Oh, sorry, it was X-Men. It was Avengers 103. Missed it by 2. That's cool. I knew what you were talking about. I remember that. That could be true. I think Hercules is probably the Greek spin-off of Samson. Yeah, I don't know if there's like we're talking about Nimrod being Orion. Again, I can't remember where I heard that. Somebody could have just made that up, and I heard it and was like, oh, that's very interesting. You know. So I don't know if it's true. I'm gonna double check on that now. Isokinetics should make a comeback in 2025. Well, it's going to be my new comic, ISOC. I don't know Cyclops would be wearing flip. It makes sense when you have that power. You know what I mean? It makes sense when you shoot laser beams. You don't, because the lenses contain his blast. You know what I mean? And they don't just contain his blast. They nullify it, because if they contained his blast, they would shoot off, because his ears are strong enough to hold the force of the. So they literally nullify his. So they would have to like flip up so that this radius of nullification would, you know, that's my nerdiness thinking too much about it. Okay, the Adaptive Sentinel started in X-Men 57. In issue 59, Cyclops convinces them the sun is the main cause of the mutation. They return in Avengers 103 and 104 because they discover the world. Okay, I knew what you're talking about. I read the story, but it all goes into the same memory file 20 years later. They destroy the mutant Sentinel and deactivate as he was the leader. Schoolboy them. Losing one stance is an interesting mechanic. Thank you. Thank you. Always love Days of Future Past. Me too. Me too. I was super excited. I remember when Days of Future Past came out, and I thought it was brilliant. It was great, great comics. It was awesome comics. And you knew the stakes were weird because they could kill off Colossus, but you knew that that wasn't the real Colossus. And it was great because it wasn't, all the time. Now it's just they keep revisiting it, or they go into times, now it's old hat, but at the time it was new and original and exciting. Good to see you, Tony. Let's turn the page. Atlas body in 7 days. 7 days you get that body. Be a veterinarian assistant. Switchblade comb. Somebody last time was like they were ordering Switchblade. It's a comb. Be a leper. Oh, be a leper. Oh, be a leper. Send away from get leprosy. Seahorses. I don't know why that made me laugh. Spicy Jims. Sell some grit. Get a horrible haircut. And we get to the action. So that was 2 whole pages of Cyclops and Jean Grey. Where are the rest of the X-Men? Well, they're over here. So now what happens from the building, top of the building, we get a debris is falling down. That's a Sentinel. Banshee just rips off his costume. No time for subtlety, Banshee, me boyo. If the Sentinels are hunting mutants again, Scott and Jean are gonna need all the help they can get. So we got Wolverine over here. We got Storm over here. I don't know who this is, but Wolverine, I love this. He jumps up and Wolverine just grabs onto his feet. And this is the first time Wolverine's wearing that jacket. And that became ubiquitous with him. And then a flash of lightning. And here comes Storm. Just look at that. That is just the coolest Storm. They've never topped Storm in this costume, in this look. And this was something that I always liked. And as far as I know, I don't know if they still do this, but these bracelets that she wears, her cape was connected to it. Because at this point, she doesn't have true flight. At this point, she throws up her cape, and it's almost like they become like parachutes or parasails, and the wind lifts her. So she doesn't have accurate flight. Now she could fly. Like once she's got that mohawk, she doesn't have a cape, and she's just zooming around. Storm has evolved the ability to fly, but at this point, it's just winds picking her up. And that could explain how she could pick up other guys. Like, is Storm strong enough to grab a full man? I think Storm is, but like you see her holding like Colossus and Nightcrawler, even in the non-Colossus form, Pete's probably too strong for the average woman to carry. But if the winds are providing lift, that could explain it. I love stuff like that. So you could see that her cape is connected to her bracelets over here, and again, after all of the combat, the background details are pretty lacking on all this page, but you don't miss it. Why don't you miss the background details? Because you know where they are. The details have been pretty good, so your brain is now filling in all of the background details. I'm sure. Wow, we got 55 people watching. I'm sure none of you realize that there's no backgrounds. Right over here, we got a building, and then no backgrounds. But nobody noticed it. Why? Because it's masterful comic book. A couple of reasons. Time, we got to get a monthly comic out, or in this case, a bi-monthly comic out, and Dave knows what he's doing. So he draws these buildings, and then we're a worm's eye view. So our mind understands that we're looking at the sky over here. What is this? Well, it's a small panel, and there's a lot of words. Red over here, ominous. I think, was it you, Marcus, that said like that's one of the things that they did? There's always a red panel on every page. I'm gonna stop paying attention to see if there's a red panel on every page. I love this. This arm reaches out blasted them. And we don't need a background over here because the flash from this energy is cascading out. And then what do we got here? This one is kind of a trick. This, to me, this is the first panel that it's like you could have used background, but it doesn't matter. But we see in the size of the Sentinel as compared to her, and we're looking up at it. So our brain is telling us that this is all sky, but this is Manhattan, so that there could be buildings behind. So that's the only panel that could have background, but I'm not missing it. I'm not missing it. And then we got Storm. You know, crap is about to happen. You know, I will resist you, and I will not be destroyed. Just a great look at that panel. That is so good. Dave Cockrum is a master. Losing one stance is an interesting mechanic. I think so. I think so. Be a leader. Be a leader, not a leper. Do you have any of the Alan Moore issues of Captain Britain? Yeah, I have that collected edition. I got to read it again. I barely remember it. My problem with Days of Future Past was even if the Sentinels were able to kill Thor and Hercules, I doubt Odin and Zeus would have let that. Good point. I never even thought of that. You know, yeah, wouldn't Odin and Zeus have stepped in? Good point. Good point. He's keeping his mouth shut. Well, the wind is lifting her, and those. Okay, I got confirmation. Back up over here. Back up. Storm, mistress of the elements, sailing on the Zephyr winds. There we go. Was Captain Britain a super soldier or just the UK attempt at it? Did he have superpowers or a tech suit? I don't remember. He was a magical being. Captain Britain got some. What was his name? Brian Braddock. He got like some magic rod. I think it was from like a Merlin, if I remember correctly, and he just got magic powers. So he's you know, full. I remember reading, and maybe my memories, but like England is supposed to be like a focal point of all magic on our Earth. So England's hero is magical based, and he's like the protector of all realities, kind of thing that focuses through. So it's kind of like Doctor Who in a way. Off to church. Okay, see ya. You really have to set the scene in the first panel, and the background's dictated. Absolutely, absolutely. This comic is perfect. The whole first 5 pages were background heavy with Manhattan and realistic sets. To paraphrase Harrison Ford, if they're looking at the backgrounds, we're all in trouble. That's a good point. That's a good point. But Captain Britain chose a magical amulet for Merlin. The choice was a sword or the amulet. He chose the. Okay, it was an amulet, not a rod or a staff or a scepter. But the original Captain Britain had a scepter, so I forgot it was the amulet. Hey, Marcus. So Storm is about to unleash the fury. Are you our magnificent Marvel goodies? Just for you, magnificent Marvel goodies. So this is just brilliant. This is just brilliant. What is the name of this company? I don't know the name of the company, but this is a company that licenses out Marvel. Oh, this is Mego. So this is Mego licenses. So they pay Marvel for the right to make these toys, to use the images, and then they pay Marvel to advertise. Brilliant. And because of that, comic book was a quarter. And even in 1976, a quarter wasn't too difficult to come by. You know, these were dirt cheap, so that you can't just buy. You know, this is why comics are expensive. We got custom vans, you know, karate dummy practice, you know, all these ads that were subsidizing the price of the comics, because these companies recognized that comic books were so popular, hundreds of thousands of people. This would get hundreds of thousands of eyes on your product. And here we go. Look the face of panic on a Sentinel. You're only a machine. How can a mere machine stand against the power of Storm, for the power of a rampaging hurricane? You know, here we got buildings, setting up the background again. Crack. Chris, will you look up in the sky? Do you see it? Yeah, I see it, Bonnie, but I don't believe it. A freaking hurricane floating 70 stories above Rockefeller Center. Chris. Oh, So that's Chris Claremont and Bonnie. I guess his wife is Bonnie. So Chris Claremont finally made it into here. I was like, who's Chris? Duh. My God, Storm, for pity's sake, stop before they destroy this entire city. It's done. There was no need to worry, Scott. I have total control of my abilities. Nothing was harmed save the Sentinels, so I see. But if Professor X were here, I'm sure. Good Lord, the Professor. He doesn't know about these new Sentinels. He's got to be warned. Oh, cool. Look at this. The name of the ship is the Deja Thoris. So here they are. They're sailing. Peter Corbeau. So he's sailing with Peter Corbeau. For those of you who don't know, he's director of the UN Project Starcore. So this is the guy that there's a satellite in Marvel Comics that orbits the sun and it just monitors the sun. That's called Starcore, and he is the director of that. So this is a nice little tidbit of him on vacation on Earth, just hanging out in the boat, being all Popeye over here with Xavier. What's it say? Boca Beach. So this is the Deja Thoris from Boca Beach. And what are they doing? Starcore's charted over half the Milky Way, and your binary isn't anywhere to be found. Okay. I got a little confused by what's going on. So Xavier's been having dreams of this star system. So he's talking to Peter Corbeau of Starcore. Have you missed it? I'm looking for this. I want to know where it is. Blazes, man. I ran this query through the Fantastic Four, the Avengers charts, nothing the same. Charles, look, you've under a hell of a strain lately, more than any human could correctly stand. It would be a pity of these if this binary isn't real at all. It could all be in your mind. So he keeps having this dream of this binary star system. He wants to know, we all know where this is leading to, Empress Leandra and all that stuff. I think you should seek professional help. So this is just them setting up. Is Xavier crazy? He's not crazy. We all know he's not crazy. I don't like Xavier, but he's not crazy. And there we go. Let's check out the comments. I like both of Captain Britain's costumes. Yeah, the original costume to me was a little busy. I did like it, but I really liked the newer costume. It was just like a nice patriotic British superhero costume that just conveyed how powerful he was. How much of Days of Future Past did they steal from the Terminator? Yep. Although wasn't there a Harlan Ellison story? So how much did Days of Future Past steal from that Harlan Ellison story? I think that mailing company morphed into Heroes World that Marvel was hoping would become the main comics distributor. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting lore. Okay. The UN just wait to see what they do in 1,000 years. Yes. John, panel 5. Look at the destroyed Sentinel. Storm had just destroyed the Sentinel in the air. Why is that destroyed? Where and why is that panel 5? Yeah. Panel 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, the Sentinel. Well, damage control came and took it away, right? The police took it. But there was that comic Sentinel that was just riffing on Iron Giant. A little boy finds a Sentinel and rebuilds it and makes it its friend. But like, I do like. I'm glad you brought that up. But I do like that sooner or later they started coming up with concepts of villains that become villains because they take all that technology. They find like broken Sentinel pieces or Ultron's head, or like leftover Doctor Doom robots, and they played on it in the Spider-Man movie with Michael Keaton as the Vulture. That's what the Shocker was. He was a guy who used like leftover technology. I like that they made like a whole subculture of these. And lately I think they did it with that Moon Girl, the Devil Dinosaur. Like she was like a scrapper who found high-tech scrap. Didn't the Hood find like magical scrap, and that's what started his origin? But that is like a whole cool byproduct of the super stuff in Marvel that I do get a kick out of. It's fun. I'm glad you brought that up. Phantom, The Days of Future Past came out in 1981, but the Soldier episode of Outer Limits was the 60s, and Harlan said it was a soldier. Yep. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, there you go. So Days of Future Past really is. And you're going to tell me that Chris Claremont didn't read that? Did Captain Britain suit keep the Union Jack on the front? If I remember correctly, you know how like Vindicator from Alpha Flight kind of wore like a stylized version of the Canadian flag? Well, the Captain Britain that I'm thinking of was like a stylized Union Jack over his whole body. But the original was just like that red with just like the lion on the front. It was kind of cool. Kind of cool. I wouldn't want to draw it every panel, you know. Harlan Ellison sued everybody. That was just his thing. James Cameron settled with him so he would just go away. Yeah, he's supposedly difficult to get along with. No, my point is the destroyed Sentinel is floating in the air. Oh, right here, it's floating in the air. Well, with no need for worry. I have total control. So maybe Storm lowered it and they just didn't bring it up. You know, like maybe, you know, Scott's talking to her. She's concentrating. I don't know, but I didn't think of that. But yeah, I could see your point. You could see the little footsies. You could see the little hand. From the angle, it looks like, and you could see these lines that kind of look like buildings. This is kind of abstracted. You can make the logical conclusion that it's floating in the air. You can make the logical conclusion that it's already laying on the ground. Yeah, it's ambiguous, you know. And then you could also say the action happens off panel. I wouldn't even have thought of it if you didn't bring it up, and I haven't thought of it. I mean, I read this comic a few times, obviously, but yeah, I could see your point, Henry. Yeah. Is that the kind of thing that does it need to be addressed? Like, can we fill in the gaps? Apparently, with you want more explanation, and me, I never thought of it. You know, that's a artistic choice. I don't know. Let's check out the last comment, and I'll turn the page. He had a line on his chest, Captain Britain. Union Jack had a stylized. Oh, that's right. You're talking about the Union Jack, a different hero, the World War II invaders era character. Yeah, okay. I didn't realize. I thought you were saying the Union Jack as the costume. Yeah, both of those costumes are so cool. I love the newer Britain over the I love the newer Captain Britain costume over the old Captain Britain costume. And that Union Jack costume is so cool. He's got the Union Jack on his chest, the hood, and then he's got that knife. He's just so cool. I always love that design. Storm was very neat. She used a tornado to carry. Yeah, I think that's what we're just supposed to assume over here. To tell you the truth, I never even thought of it. Good observation. And now what do we got here? Charles Xavier, I have come for you. And I love how the balloon has this like lightning jagged tail, and it's coming from a speaker in his chest. Oh no, it's not. I thought it was coming from the speaker in the chest, but over here it's coming from the face. You know, but that implies he sounds different. My mental defenses shouldn't. Very well, Sentinel, you found me, and here we got more of the Neil Adams, Jack Kirby, Dave Cockrum effect. Just, you know, and it's all inspired by Kirby Crackle. Now, here's my question to you, the group chat. Why does Xavier's powers work on a Sentinel? Xavier has mental blasts. You know, to me, a mental blast is just thoughts. You know, he just sends all of these thoughts into your brain, and it stuns you, it overwhelms you. Maybe it causes your brain to do overriding stuff, cause your heart to flutter. Maybe, you know, your all your arms to, you know what I mean, and it causes damage. How does that affect a robot? He does that like Jean Grey telekinetically. That just affects matter. Boom, telekinesis. It's far away movement, telekinesis. Telepathy is this, it's all mental. So how is he affecting a Sentinel? Penetrating shields. You know what I mean? To me, this shouldn't work in my logic. that Xavier shouldn't be able to, unless you're saying that the Sentinels are so sophisticated that they do have true minds, their computers are, mental, and in which case, wouldn't they be sentient, and then blowing them up is murder? You know what I mean? Because yes, you could say the Sentinels are trying to kill him. Well, Magneto's trying to kill him. Sabretooth is trying to kill him, and they don't murder Sabretooth and Magneto. This is all, what do you guys think? Am I overthinking this too much? Consider yourself that mind blast should have destroyed you. It seems that my dream must have sapped my powers far more than I thought. So now they're hightailing out of here. The boat puts down the hydrofoils, and they're flying away. And what do we got here? Images. Words never Worlds never tasted. Colors never smelt. Worlds beyond imagining crashing together and dying. So many images. And a face. So he's getting overwhelmed by all of this psychic imagery. Mayday! What's going on? Sentinel smashes through everything. The Starcore guy is thrown into the water. What about Xavier? Charles, return the man to ultra base via ultra linear leap. Senses indicate solar radiation nearing Sentinel tolerance levels. Looks bad, chum. You're 200 miles from land, and if no one heard your mayday, it's going to be one long swim. So the space charter navigator guy is thrown into the ocean. I love the ties to all the other continuity. Starcore. Now, they used Starcore before in the X-Men. Did Starcore start in the X-Men, which is just more proof that X-Men is just superhero team B, whereas the Avengers are team A, because they got the C lab. They got what is the name of the C place where the Stingray operates? Why can't I think of that? But they got Starcore. I love all that stuff. I love all of the. I love when they bring up Roxxon and all of the other corporations that exist within Marvel. I love the continuity of Marvel Comics, and that's one of the reasons why I just stopped reading it, because these people just forget all of the other little wonderful little tidbits. Sorry about that, John. The floating destroyed Sentinel always bothered me. No worries. No, that's cool. I enjoyed talking about it. This is comic book talk. This is comic book talk. As long as you're not purposely trying to start a fight, this is fun. I and it made me bring up all of that other little tangential stuff. I do love that stuff. So no worries. No worries. It's fun. How does the mental effect of robot? I got support. Got backup over here. You always want backup. I support the use of Kirby Crackle. You can't go wrong with Kirby Crackle. Harlan Ellison did a TV interview with Asimov and the other great sci-fi authors, and he attacked them. He said he hates sci-fi and he's out of sci-fi. He sounds like a real fun guy. He'd get along on the internet. Is he still alive? And you know what's funny? One of my least favorite Star Trek episodes is Edith Keeler Must Die. What's it called? Citadel on the Edge of Forever. What is this one when, with Joan Collins? I always hate when Star Trek just cheaps out and uses Earth sets. I watch Star Trek to see fantastic blue aliens and spaceships and stuff like that. Like, I hate those episodes where they're fighting the Civil War, or Gary 7, they go to Earth and everything like that. I go back in time. To me, that's just cheap. You don't watch Superman. Like, that was my biggest problem with Lois and Clark. It was a soap opera about two, and that's how it was sold. So it wasn't like it was bait and switch. It was sold as a soap opera between Lois and Clark, who happens to be Superman. It's like, I remember the last time I watched it, they were undercover reporters, and Lois, Terry Hatcher, was in a sexy cocktail outfit uniform. They know where their bread is buttered, and she's serving drinks, and Clark is in the vest, the little round glasses, and a little tie, and he's the bartender. And Terry Hatcher comes over to what's his name and says, the drinks aren't cold. And he's like, okay. And he bends down and uses his super breath. And that was the only use of superpowers in the whole episode. Maybe a little X-ray vision. And I'm just like, just make a soap opera about two reporters. You know what I mean? If you're gonna use Superman, use Superman. So I didn't really care for that show too much. But anyway, that's another tangent. Leandra of the Shi'ar preview, but we don't know that yet. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I didn't want to spoil it for those of you who don't know, but yes, we're leading up to the first appearance of Leandra, a character that I really like. Well, possibly Professor X has the same powers as Jean Grey, so he used his powers to muck up the Sentinel's mechanism. Yeah, but it's mental. He reads minds. If you strip away everything that Xavier could do, he sends thoughts and he receives thoughts. Sends thoughts and receives thoughts. How does sending thoughts interfere with the computer? You know, looking it up, telekinesis is, yeah, I know. They have to say it's telekinesis. Then it's not a mind blast right here. That mind blast. Then it's a telekinesis. I know I'm being pedantic, but that's one of the reasons you have to be consistent with their powers. Like I know a few times in the past, Cyclops' I-beams melted stuff, and I know a few times in the blast, his I-beams acted as lasers, but for the most part, they're kinetic blasts. You got to be consistent. Johnny Storm in the early Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Johnny Storm's, especially in the Strange Tales, he was pulling powers out of his hiney hole and doing these one-shot abilities, and that's I have a mechanism for that in my role playing. We call it power stunts. You know, since all superhero powers in my world come from, all powers are mental powers, whether you're super strong or whatever. They all, you get linked to this dimension of pure imagination, Plato's cave, and you pull and make it reality from this other dimension. So all powers are mental, and you can temporarily withdraw too much power but that runs the risk of damaging your brain. Jean has both telepathy and telekinesis. Xavier is only a telepath, but it takes for a better story. So they went with the rule of cool. I agree with you. And it sounds like I am being nitpicky, but I'm being nitpicky in a fanboy way rather than actually, this shouldn't happen. I also support the use of Kirby Crackle, but don't smoke it. Yeah, don't smoke Kirby Crackle, ladies and gentlemen. Don't smoke Kirby Crackle. City on the Edge of Forget. Yeah, thank you. He died in 2018. I thought he died. I thought, but he would be one of those people, that perfect example of like too stubborn to die. He's probably arguing with St. Peter. Passed away 2018, but knowing him, he could still, he has a contingency plan to sue people. that would be funny. Star Trek, yes, Star Trek didn't always have a big budget. They did, yes. Supposedly, I think it was William Shatner was saying that the costumes that they wore stunk because they were was it velvet? They were velvet, and they didn't always wash them. And he said they just stunk because they didn't have the budget to always clean them. I agree. Sci-fi should not be set on Earth. It is the future, right? Unless it's set on Earth. You know what I mean? Unless you're setting the sci-fi on Earth, because superheroes are sci-fi, if you ask me, set on Earth. But like, I don't watch Star Trek for them to land on the Nazi planet and everything is Nazi. I don't watch Star Trek to go to the gangster planet, although that has some great acting and some funny moments. Like, those are my least favorite Star Trek episodes, when they go to Earth world. I don't mind when they go to, like, there's one of the episodes they land on that planet and it's the Klingon is there and they're trying to influence them to join the Klingon side, and they live like Amish people with low technology. That didn't bother me because it's not Earth. It's not just obviously a Western set. It is some sort of, and I kind of think that is kind of realistic. Like, I used to hate Firefly. Ooh, I'm like, every time we go to Firefly, they're just landing on a primitive Earth past. Until I really started to think about it, that would probably happen if we did colonize like near space. The farther colonies like the people that landed would be like the engineers who understand nuclear technology and stuff like that. And as they spread, by 3 generations later, they would probably be living like frontiersmen. You know what I mean? Like, did their parents really teach their kids nuclear physics and have PhD? You know what I mean? So I saw again. I do like Firefly now, but at first I doped out. I was like, I don't like this. I don't watch sci-fi to watch cowboys. But I started to really appreciate the world building of Firefly. Too late, it was already canceled at that point. They have an advanced computer green, but most of them follow. Yeah, Sentinels are a contradiction. They're super vastly powerful, but they get taken out like Keystone Cops. Professor X receives thoughts and read minds, but he controls others to a limited degree, but he was not much in telekinesis. I think, yeah. I think they listed telekinesis just because so many oopses. You know, there's another like Scarlet Witch up until 2015 didn't shoot blast, even though she did shoot blast. That wasn't supposed. That was like a misuse of her powers. Now she shoots blast. Johnny Storm creating flaming duplicates has not been done in a while. That use of his powers doesn't really bother me too much because he just, because Johnny Storm to me could control flame as well as produce fire. So I could see him creating fire vaguely in a human shape and tricking people. But what I'm talking about is in one episode he went above Manhattan and he made a flame stethoscope and listened to radio and picked up the wizard talking to the rest of the Frightful Four. How do you do that with fire? Things like that. The flame duplicates doesn't bother me that much. If they could bottle Kirby Crackle, it would cure it. Yes. It is the panacea for what ails you. Stargate does a lot of Earth-like places that aren't Earth-like. I have a Firefly type of Western planet in the diaspora. It's called Pegasus. Yeah. Stargate doesn't bother me. I got to get back into Stargate. I think I watched the first 2 seasons and I really liked it. And just life got in the way. That is just a show that I love the premise. I love the movie. I want to go back and rewatch the movie. I like the whole idea of these Stargates and these worlds were infinitely far away, but they would interact through these like warp gates, and sometimes people would go. I know I'm getting it wrong because it's been so long since I watched it, but yeah, Stargate. I want to go back and watch. I thanks for reminding me of it. I always hated crap like the Human Torch making a flaming. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't mind a flaming Rasso if the Human Torch just shot fire and made a ring around somebody and they were like afraid of getting burnt and he called it the flaming lasso. Yeah, that's fine. But to actually make a flaming lasso and pick people up, that is where I'm calling poopadoodles. Poopadoodles. Jean Grey is the telekinesis expert more so than telepathy. Yeah, Jean Grey. To me, it's the special. It's the John Byrne rule. The specialist gets the edge. Charles Xavier is the telepath, so he should be the greatest telepath. Now, Jean Grey is the second. She started out as the telekinetic, so she should be the telekinetic, and then she developed telepathy. In my mind, she should always be lesser than Xavier. And like Karen Frost, is that no Emma Frost? The White Queen. She's got other powers, so in my way of thinking, she shouldn't be the premier telepath. Like she can now mutate into Diamond and stuff like that, So she shouldn't be as powerful. That's just the way I think. I thought season 2 of Stargate started to lose steam, but it gets better by seasons. It seems like season 3 is when all of these sci-fi shows pick up steam. Morning, John. Only be a bit for a minute. I got to go help my folks. Go help your folks out. That's what Sunday's all about. Keep holy the Sabbath. Seasons 3 to 6 play on espionage and the blowback of nation building as we topple galactic time. Are we still talking about Stargate? Okay, so let's go to the next page. We've been letting poor Corbeau just float in the ocean for way too long. Oh, they're gonna make us wait. I just want to say this. Perfect use of the advertisement. We got a mere human. Not only is he a mere human, he has specialties in space stations. So literally he is out of his element. Like he's out of his element, which is space station. He's on Earth and he's in the ocean. you know, and then blammo, makes you wait. Perfect use of the page break. We got the Mighty Marvel checklist. Who we got? The Neil Adams Spider-Man Battle of the Century. How much was this? $2.50 at 50 cents for postage and handling. What is this? Spider-Man versus, is this $2.50, 50 cents for postage and handling, $6 plus $1 for postage and handling. Why are there two different prices? This says it all. Okay. Superman P.O. Box, Dover, New Jersey. Please send me the following magazine: Superman vs. Spider-Man. Okay, that's a little. Oh, okay. Special collector's offer for all our fearless fanatics. A limited edition of 2,000 copies of this monumental masterpiece have been signed by Stan Lee and Carmine Infantino. Okay, so $2.50 for the regular edition, $6 for the signed edition. Did anybody get the signed edition? I didn't know that they did that. So here is something interesting. The Mutant Mailbox. Joe Duffy, future Marvel Pro here. That is, I love that stuff. I love that to me, like, proves their credentials when they're writing letters before they work for Marvel. You know what I mean? That is pretty cool. So let's go. Yeah, I'll check the comments. Yes. Okay. We talk about Starbait. Well, Emma Frost being able to become Diamond Heart was one of the many secondary mutations they start. I know. Yeah, I know. I that's one of them that doesn't really bother me too much. But a lot of these secondary mutations, it's just like, it's just a, come on, make up another character. Like, you take it away the uniqueness. I know my hill to die on is that Rogue shouldn't have kept Captain Marvel's powers for so long. She should have just. It makes her uniqueness is her secondary power. The power that she stole became her main power, and to me, it ruins the individuality of Rogue. $2.50, and it was an oversized book, huge oversized book. Emma Frost is the Ghislaine Maxwell of the Marvel Universe. Absolutely. We were just talking about this the other night. Holding pencil, pink person, blue holding pencil, person, pink. I don't get. I did not get a signed one. Carmine Infantino was a good artist. I got to agree with you. He was the John Romita Senior of DC, meaning he was like he was the house director, art style director. Is that true, Marcus, or am I lying to everybody? Listen, bro, you smoke some of this crackle, I guarantee you'll see new worlds and realities. Ain't that word dat Holmes? John, do you have any of those famous first editions from DC, the ones that would reprint famous Golden Age issues? The only Golden Age reprints I have are like the Secret Origins, but those aren't literal reprints. But I collected the DC Chronicles. I love those. Those were just new print editions of, like, in chronological order of all the first appearances of Superman. So I got like a stack of Supermans and then a stack of Batmans. I got a stack of Flash, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern. And then they just discontinued them. I thought they were really important for comic book collectors. They must not have been profitable, because they stopped. But I thought they were important for collectors like me. They were great. Steve Gerber's Defenders. Yep. Fighting Nebulon. I hate names that just end in Nebulon, like Nuklon from the Infinity Incorporated. Oh my God, that name irks me. It irks me. My phone is just blowing up. Who is messaging me? Okay, just making sure that nothing important is going on. I mean, my phone is just exploding. Okay, all right. I just making sure that nothing important is going on. Sometimes, like, my family's trying to get in touch with me. All right, we got 16 muscle building courses. Okay, so now let's get to the X-Men over here. So now we got Wolverine. We got Jean Grey. Okay, so time cut. Now 4 days up the line. So 4 days have passed. Wow, 4 days have passed. I must have missed that. So the X-Men have they have Xavier, Jean Grey, Wolverine, and Banshee prisoner for 4 days. Wow. Time cut now 4 days up the line to December 28th, 1975, a Sunday in New York, except that this isn't New York. Dr. Lang, excuse me, solar radiation. We have shut down Central. Okay. Wait. I don't know, sir. Is this Wolverine a mutant? His readings are nothing like the others. The Sentinels say he is, but mutant or no, that Wolverine, he isn't human. So this is really ambiguous. They're saying that Wolverine isn't human. Now, is this Chris Claremont hinting that? Because remember, Wolverine he didn't have a thought out, well, he didn't have a well thought out origin at this point. Len Wein, his creator, they played with a couple of different ideas. Was it a guy just wearing prosthetic bionic claws? Was it a mutant? At one point they were playing with the idea that he was a creation of the High Evolutionary, who literally was a Wolverine that was mutated into human form. But he's in the X-Men, so he has to be some sort of mutant. Otherwise, my way of thinking, he wouldn't be in the X. But so keep it up. Now, don't you think if at this point Wolverine had an adamantium skeleton, they would have brought it up? So to me, this is indicative that Wolverine still was in that embryonic stage, the quantum stage. He didn't really have his past, his powers, everything about him wasn't thought out yet. Because if you had an adamantium skeleton and it was established, wouldn't they bring it up? Where's your swastika, Lang? You don't look dressed without it. No, I'm no Nazi, Miss Gray. Just a man doing his duty, following orders, sir. If you like, you mutant kind are the enemy, and I'm found a way to destroy you. So here is really the first time mutant persecution, and it works. Don't get me wrong. I do like the idea of like a mutant haters fighting mutants. It just becomes too much at a certain point. But I do think in the real world there would be people who they're not mutants, they're demons. They can't be entrusted with the power. I do think it's a realistic, and honestly, it would be remiss in their duty if they didn't bring up stuff like that. So here we go. That tears it. You can dump on me and Banshee all you like, but when you beat on that lady, you got to answer to the Wolverine. Sentinel T20, mutant is loose. Secure him. Alive if you can, dead if you must. So that's the game, huh? Fine by me. So I think, this is what, the sixth, this is the first time we're seeing Wolverine just lash out. What's interesting? So far, I just realized this is only, we had Storm in a costume. So we had Storm in a costume and we had Banshee in a costume. And Nightcrawler and Colossus haven't done anything yet. So here we are. No takers? I thought you guys, so he just wrecks this robot. This is why everybody loves Wolverine. Just right now, he literally is a master, a man of mystery. I know. Okay, so let's. You had a signed one, Marcus? Cool. John, do you have any Bronze Age? Yeah, I got a full Defenders run. Defenders are just out there. That is just like, in school, like the Avengers are like the jocks, the X-Men are like the artsy emo kids. The Defenders are those pot smoking guys who hang out by the wall. There's always a wall in your high school with the outcast. The Defenders is just the wacky Marvel comics. Marcus, they were neat. They reprinted all the backup stories as well as the ads. Oh, you talking about like new facsimile editions? At one point, they were going to go with him being a mutated Wolverine. Yep, more support. They were great, Tony. Oh, I thought there were more comments. Okay, cool. So I can turn the page. All right, we got ads. We got more ads. Locksmith. Drafting pays big. What is this? Oh, make metal Social Security cards for people. Is that illegal? These are 6 foot, like, articulated cardboard, flat. They had little grommets so you could pose them any way you want. Stick-ons. You stick them on your window. They were like little window decals. Your claws, laddie. Lord above, they're a part of you. We didn't know. Why would you, Irish? It's none of your business. What you doing, Red? So where does this costume come from? Where does costume come from? So I love this. So now it's established that Wolverine has claws as part of him. And I just love that the Banshee is surprised by this on a team of people who could control the weather, transform it to, What? But where did this costume come from? Trying to tear my dress. Evening gowns weren't designed for running fast. Is that all? Ain't no trouble, Red. All you got to do is, hey, not so blasted short. I think so. I love. So she's saying she's trying to rip the dress because she lacks the movement. So Wolverine rips it short and he's smiling. Thank you very much. I think anytime, Red. Just I love that. And I like there's they're showing the height differences. We got to get out of here. We got to get Charles out of here. They're bickering. Hot fiery redheads fighting with this guy. What they're building up for, and then this starts look. And now we got to get Banshee's got to do something. So Banshee just comes and screams. What always bothered me was he screamed and spoke in the same panel. Like you're screaming, you can't talk while screaming. It should be like, hold on, and then let's get out of here. So now there's sentinels everywhere. And what do? They're going berserkowitz over here. I just love this. Like right now, the sentinels might as well be the Keystone Cops. They got millions of sentinels. So he's blasting one up. Wolverine's beheading one. Jean Grey's taking out two, and they're fighting. So what good are they? They might as well just be like goofs at this point. One sentinel should be like a serious threat that the X-Men need. Like every time they beat a sentinel, it should be like, but now they're just blasting through them. They might as well be like Joker henchmen with like number 1, 2, 3, 4 written on them. So now she's blasted the sentinel over here. The big Treasury editions from DC, the first editions. Yep. His costume was stored in his butt. Who's faster, the Flash or Quicksilver? It has to be Flash. DC guys are always overpowered. I like the Flash. I mean, I like it when Quicksilver has a more manageable speed. Like Flash could run the speed of light. That's unbeatable, And then Quicksilver, can he run faster than sound? I know that they gave him 2 speeds, like his combat speed, and then like if he's just running across the world, he could shift and go to like a super speed, but he can't really maneuver at that speed. I kind of like that. I'll buy that for $1. We got Nova, Spider-Man in the Cupcake Caper. Who's the name of the bad guy? It's Man Mountain Marco. But look, Marco, but just that mountain just became a molehill. So this is one of the Fixers gang. What was it? Fancy Dan, Montana, and Man Martin Marco. Old. I think the leader was the Fixer, and he just defeats him, and then he goes home and has cupcakes with Mary Jane. What a nice day. Cupcakes with Mary Jane. That's gonna be the name of my new album. Cupcakes with Mary Jane. Oh no, it's toppling right on top of her. So Banshee saves Jean Grey. Wolverine's about to be attacked, so they save Banshee saves the day, and I love this. He's got Wolverine on one side, Jean Grey on the other, and he's screaming. People holding their ears. He's screaming, and what is he? To me, Banshee he has to scream to keep his power up. I don't know if they do this, but if I was to write the X-Men, I would establish that Banshee, his powers have to stop to breathe in. You know what I mean? So he could fly and defend himself, put up sonic arrays, stuff like that, and then he stops, and he would just fall. and then you know what I mean. So like he would fly, drop, because he has to catch his breath. You know, so he can fly short distances. Like Banshee can't fly to Montana. You know, or he could fly up, drop, fly up. If you know what I mean, he could do that. But you know what I mean, like he. So this page to me shows like he's running out of breath, and Banshee's powers shouldn't work under the water. He's not going to inhale the ocean. You know what I mean? And in the vacuum of space. So if Banshee's in a spacesuit, he uses his powers. He blows up his spacesuit and dies. That's the kind of weaknesses I would impose on Banshee. We got this great image of Cyclops and Nightcrawler over here. What do they do? They're looking for their kidnapped comrades. Cerberus scanned the entire world twice over, and there's no sign of them. To them, no defensive shields, nothing. So it makes sense that Scott Lang's is that his name? Would have his base would be mutant proof. So now we got the rest of the X-Men over here. Dr. Peter Corbeau, you know. So is this a mistake? Wait a minute. I could see on a true old. He says we're here to help. Okay, so why is he cold and in a blanket if this is 4 days later? Was he adrift for 4 days and they just saved him? Did they forget that they said that this was 4 days later? This is, to me, this even more than that mutant, that sentinel in the floating in the air. This needs to be explained. I get that just we can't even find them, not a residual trace. And the only way for that to happen is Jean and the others must be dead. I don't accept that. But what other choice do we have? It's like they've gone off the face of the earth. That's it. That's why the Sentinel is so worried about Solar. Don't you see, Cyclops? They're not on the earth at all. So I love this. So Banshee's just like a banshee, just whipping through like a bullet, blasted everything, and now he's panicking. Why? Because he went through the hull of the ship, and now they're in space. Dun, dun, dun. We got ourselves a good old-fashioned cliffhanger. And Toy Soldiers, The Secret Teaching of Yourself Music. And then here's the back cover of this man with the most smackable face in the history of comic books. So there you go. That's X-Men 98. That's X-Men fandom. Outsider is backing me up that the Flash is way faster. Didn't Peter used to call Mary Jane cupcakes? If the shoe fits. Man Mountain was his own villain. The Enforcers, oh, that's right. Enforcers were Fancy Dan, Montana, and Ox in their first appearance. They worked for the big man. Okay. No, Scott. Yeah, Scott Lang is Ant-Man. Yeah, what did I say? I said the wrong name. That's a great point about Banshee. I wonder what the Marvel Handbook says. And in space, no one can hear Banshee scream. Yeah, that's the way Banshee's powers would work if I was writing him and had psychic powers. Yes, I did say X-Men 98. I said it. I smelt it and I dealt it. So we got 65 people watching. Thank you so much. I always remember back when it was just me and like 3 other people doing these, you know. So I'm done. I got nothing else to say unless you guys want to keep talking as normal. I will keep talking while the chat's going. So at this point, I always bring up what am I doing here on John's Long Box. So as normal, Monday and Tuesday I don't stream. I got friends over. We play board games. Wednesday at 7:00, I got Alzamat. We're going to talk at 7:00, and then at 8:30, I think I'll be on RJ's channel for Comic Book Team Up. I think because we missed, so I don't know if we're gonna. I got to talk to RJ to find if it's on my channel or his channel. Thursday, I don't have anything planned yet. I'm trying to set something up. I think I might want to do another one of those like Old Testament deep dives with Cooper, see if he's interested. Friday, I don't have a guest lined up yet. I've been really lax looking up guests, so I got to get guests. And then at 8:30 we will do Voldemort versus Darth Vader. Voldemort versus Darth Vader. So that's the week scheduled as of right now. I'm aiming to replace that smackable face. Crenshaw, you got a lovable face. You know, the artwork screams 1978. Yeah, this 1976. So Oh, maybe Friday I'll do a closeout stream. There you go. Sorry if I just made everybody yawn. So maybe Friday we'll do a closeout stream for the end of Heroic Tales #2. We'll close it out. I would like to get to the new stretch goal of the Subterranean card. I think I'm gonna make 7 cards a campaign. That way, selling a set of 7 cards for $10 seems reasonable. So whatever stretch goal cards come out in this campaign, the next campaign you could buy the old cards as a set. In the old days, Banshee used to use echolocation to see what was the next room before he blast through. Yeah, you could use soda. Tony, yeah, I think you brought this up before. I got to get his contact information. That he would be a good guest. He would be a good guest. Yeah, 1976, Garfield's Bizarre Adventures. Hey guys, showing up just at the end. So, anything anybody want to talk about? Anything anybody want to say before I close this down? Going once, going twice. This is a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. All right, I guess we're done. I'll see you. Bye bye, everybody. Check out Heroic Tales 2. Bye bye.